saying, Milo. If it's too loud, you're too old.
Hello, guys. Welcome to my podcast. We are live right now with Joe Icy, the martial arts teacher himself. Glad to see you, Joel.
Hello.
Hey, bud. Hey, I was going to ask you a question. Since you got here, we've done plenty of ghost hunting. You are also not only a bouncer, but a martial artist who has teach martial arts for years and years and years. So, where did you first learn your martial arts skills, and what was your beginnings?
My beginnings were in St. Anne, Illinois. I started Jiu-Jitsu at the age of 16, and by age 18, I had a black belt, the first degree. As I turned 20, going on 21, I studied some of the Chinese military hand-to-hand fighting. From there, I got into security work and eventually bouncer work. And currently, I am 45 going on 46, and I've taken up night armored combat.
I mean, also you're in really good shape for your age, also, and
Oh yeah,
and you're like 6'2", so tall.
6'2", about 250, 255 in weight.
Did any other sports besides martial arts? You know, like football, basketball, baseball.
I did hockey and basketball around, I think, 14 to 15 kind of age. But after I hit martial arts, regular sports just didn't interest me anymore.
Okay. So, what places have you traveled to doing your teachings of martial arts?
Travel. I mean, I did some. I taught when I worked as a bouncer. I trained some of the bar staff in self-defense, and I officially had one student that progressed fairly well in Taijutsu, so that worked out good for her.
Have you? How many people have you teach with becoming a pretty successful bouncer?
Mm, as being a bouncer or being just a martial artist?
Martial arts, or both?
I've never taught anybody to be a bouncer, but I've taught, I don't know, somewhere around 10 to 15 people.
I remember one time you I was at the bar complex when I first started.
That is true. I did forget that part. But yes, you did get some on-the-job training.
Also, you teach me a few things. Also,
Oh, yeah.
Which some of the listeners don't even know. I used to be a bouncer at the bar complex a while back.
You also did some wrestling too, right?
Yeah, I did some wrestling, yeah. That's years ago when I was like 20, 21, 22,
Mm-hmm.
you know, back a
Oh,
long
yeah.
time ago. And actually, funny thing is, talk about it, my first body slam that I ever took, or the first time I was training when I was 13, and it was a small indie show, and of course, he didn't want anybody to know that I was involved with, especially my age.
Okay.
Also, how many tournaments have you went to or competed in?
The only tournaments I could officially say that I did was when I first started Taijutsu, and I was about 18 at the time. That was just a local one. Actually, now that I think of it, that actually was a cage fight, and it was not a tournament.
It was a cage fight. You got paid good money on it? You won it?
I did not win any money. There was no money to be won, but it was more the experience and the respect of going through that competition, as it was caged and locked in. It was full contact. There were no gloves, no safety devices of any kind. It was bare
like
knuckle all the way.
It was kind of like the movie Fight Club, basically, almost.
Yes, it was.
Also, another question is, since as long as you've been a bouncer and dealing with martial arts, what was the most person you have to deal with as a bouncer that sticks out in your mind the most?
I don't even have to think about that because I'll always remember that. I mean, I was working as a bouncer, and I was notified that there was a guy harassing strippers, basically. And I watched the guy, and basically the stripper signaled for me to get the guy away from her, so I did. He freaked out. He pushed me. I recovered quickly and was able to subdue him. I put my knee in his back and on the ground. Some of the bar staff came and helped me carry him out of the bar. When he got out to the bar, and he was in the parking lot, he calmed down, and my boss said, okay, let him go, because I'm not a cop. I can't arrest anybody. So we let him go. And as soon as he gets up and he gets coherent on his feet, he immediately starts attacking other customers right away, right in front of me. So I then put him in an arm lock, and I held him there in the parking lot in front of like 20 customers. And my night manager, he called the police, told me to hold him. I did. The police take their time responding because they have to show up in...
They usually take forever on anything.
They do take their time, but they do that so that they're prepared enough to deal with the situation.
That makes
So
sense.
I had to hold the guy in an arm lock for a good 20 minutes at least.
Oh boy.
And literally I recall talking to the guy, telling him, he would try to attack other people, and I told him in a very aggressive way, you're not going to do that. You're going to listen to me. And he did, as we were basically
holding them down. I mean, like, please let me out, and then as soon as he let him out, he starts attacking random people.
He would,
arm lock.
And that actually did happen 2 times. The third time, I didn't care what my boss said. I'm not letting him go. He called the police. The police showed up.
Was he drunk?
He was drunk and high and everything he possibly could. It took... Now, keep in mind, I restrained the guy by myself with no help.
Mm-hmm.
No help, literally, by myself. It took 3 police officers.
Holy shit.
3 to get him in handcuffs. Because when 2 came up, one came on my right, one came on my left.
You're 6'2", so were they like short and
he really was like under, he's like 5'9" or something. So
plus my height. Maybe.
Yeah.
And then the officers, I'm guessing they were close.
I'm sorry.
Mentions in dwarf.
I do have respect for the police, but these officers were like half my size. And I'm sorry, that does help. It really does.
The size does matter sometimes, especially when...
Well, you're dealing hand-to-hand combat. It does matter.
Yeah.
You need to have the weight and the strength. I mean, show me a short, small bouncer. There is none.
There's barely.
It's always a huge freaking giant.
Yeah. Well, also, I was talking to you earlier about this, about Bruce Lee, how he would highly exaggerate his martial arts, and how he got in a fight with an actor. I don't remember what the actor was, but he actually got his ass whipped by a guy who was like 6'2". Do you think Bruce Lee's like? I'm not saying you agree with me or not, but like, do you think it might be slightly highly exaggerated some of his skill?
Honestly, I think people are taught. Not too long ago, I heard somebody was bashing Bruce Lee. They're only doing that because he's dead.
Yeah.
If he was alive right now, let somebody stand up to Bruce Lee.
Well, I'm not saying he's not a bad fighter, but like, I don't know. I think you hear all these stories about him and stuff like that. You know, might be a little exaggerated or not.
When he was alive, he did a lot of things. I don't know. I wasn't alive at that time, but in all honesty, I think people are just talking big because he's not alive.
Well, that's true. I mean, they do the same thing with Michael Jackson sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
But it seems kind of strange that Bruce Lee and his son, who played in the movie The Crow,
Mhm.
Brandon Lee, they died the same way, which is odd.
Yeah. Not a whole lot of people know, but Bruce Lee had connections to the Chinese mafia.
It wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah.
Do you think it was like the same fate with Brandon?
Apparently, I've heard that. I remember back in the '90s when Brandon did die, that there was some family curse that went back countless years that followed that family, and that's why Bruce Lee's daughter never got into movies.
That's why I heard that she wanted to get into it at first, but she kind of had second thoughts on it.
Yeah.
Would you ever be part of an action film, or were you part of an action film at one point?
Oh no. Would I? I don't know. I guess I could, but I'm not really. I'm a martial artist. I'm a fighter, but I'm not like an actor though.
I mean, you probably act better than Steven Seagal. I'm just saying.
It's sad. You can look up YouTube on Steven Seagal right now. He's overweight.
Well, Bad TV, they used to make fun of him and how terrible acting he was, and he wasn't exaggerating.
It's honest. That, in my opinion, and I've heard this before too, that's the worst thing a martial artist can do is let their body go. Yeah. That's why I work out extremely hard now, because I don't want to be like that.
Also, I was going to ask you a question. That what was your biggest inspiration in martial arts? Was it like Walker Texas Ranger, Bruce Lee, Jackie Chan? Was it Chuck Liddell or the Iceman?
It was Bruce Lee was one. Stephen Hayes, he was another one. I mean, of course, there were all the martial art movies back in the 90s and 80s that I watched. I've even seen many of the kung fu movies where the voice doesn't match the lips.
Those are kind of funny.
They are, but it's fighting, so I liked it.
So, what about Ken Shamrock? You were?
Oh yeah, in fact, when UFC was up and going, that's about the same time that I got into watching it, and Ken Shamrock was one of my favorite. Yeah,
he was not only a UFC fighter, but also in the WWE, and he was a fighter. And
he did the wrestling stuff afterwards. But
there was one guy who was a amateur Greek and Roman wrestler named Dan Severn. Have you heard of the guy?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
He did UFC, mixed martial arts. Also, he did professional wrestling. But I remember one time he said of all the belts, of all the stuff that he's maintained more injuries in WWE compared to UFC. And yeah, UFC I think was more intense, more real. The rules are more, actually are a lot more safer compared to boxing.
Say that again.
Mixed martial arts rules of UFC is a lot more. The rules are a lot more safer compared to boxing. Boxing, there's more deaths. There's more deaths in boxing compared to any other combat sport almost.
Are you serious? I've never heard.
That's what I heard. Yeah, like there's been no deaths in UFC.
Oh. UFC, they get bloodier though.
Yeah, they do get bloodier, and there's not very much padding. But like with boxing, if you get up after if you have a 10 count to get up, you can have a concussion in between that time, or be be knocked out for 2 or 3 seconds.
True, but some people fight bare knuckle though. I mean,
Oh.
Currently over in Russia, there's a whole thing. There's a whole circuit of bare knuckle fighting.
Nice. Would you ever go down there to try it out? Because you did bare knuckle one time.
That's how I was originally trained, was for the practical aspect of it. You wouldn't put padding on in a real street fight.
Oh no,
you wouldn't have time to put on anything.
Well, especially if you're a bouncer, you're quite used to dealing with drunks and people who can't feel pain. You gotta let them have it. Have you ever fought more than one person in a situation? Like, a fight in the back alley or the bar or any like the strip club you ever been in, used to work at. Have you ever gotten in a fight with like more than one person and basically won?
Mm, no, I mean, that was part of my black belt test. I had several tests to get the black belt, which was far more than just one. I did train and I did have to take on three people at one time. That was it was more based on time. I had a certain amount of time I had to stay on my feet and stay active and not get cornered or subdued by the other three. I did pass that.
I remember one time you told me that it was a huge fight between these black ladies at the bar complex, and you had to take them all down and take them out.
Well, there is that issue. There were two people that were arguing. Um, and a crowd of people came up around myself and the two people arguing. I notified everybody that they needed to move the fight outside. So I honestly didn't care if they fought, just get out of the bar, basically. And within, I don't know, 20, 30 seconds, literally a riot erupted, and I'm in the very center of it by myself again, because I was the only bouncer there. The fight did progress outside, and I basically let them. I had my hands up. I was ready to fight whoever, but that 20 people moved out to the back parking lot, and they started fighting each other, and me and the night manager were basically letting them do it because there was nothing.
It's not in the bar as long as
it was out in the parking lot. Yeah. The customers were safe inside, and I was ready, but one bouncer is not going to take out 20 people fighting each other. Yeah. I mean,
any person taking on 20 people.
You'd be going around subduing people, and then what? I mean,
as long as they hit it on the parking lot, man.
Yeah, outside, they could do whatever. They fought it out, and the police came, and they were yelling at their friends, "Hey, the police are coming! We gotta go!"
So I'm guessing it was lack of skills that they had also.
Oh yeah, it was sad and pathetic.
Scratching their eyes out, pulling.
Literally, I, as they were yelling to each other, they would like punch somebody. Hey, we gotta go! And shortly after that, they all left because the police showed.
Combination of anger
basically,
and alcohol.
they spread out like.
Oh yeah.
Your little animals, basically.
Also, I have a question about your dietary. I mean, you must go through a strict diet with a strict workout, to keep yourself in shape, to keep yourself top physical shape and skills that you have. What is your daily life like with working out and dieting?
A typical work day that I work a full-time job, 12-hour long shift. As when I work day shift, I wake up 3 a.m. First thing I eat is a protein shake, and I head to the gym. When I get to the gym, I take a pre-workout drink. Well, I drink that. I take one pre-workout, and then I drink another pre-workout as I work out. And then prepare to go to work. I go to work for a full 12-hour shift. Typically consume about 1 gram of protein each pound I weigh. My goal at least is 250 grams of protein a day. I would like to say that I'm on a strict diet, but I'm not. I like all types of food like anybody, but my meals I try to keep fairly healthy, fairly high protein. What other questions you got?
I ever tried that? Was it the protein pancake sometimes? I always get it from the store. Uh,
I've heard mixed reviews on that. Um, some professionals will tell you that you can't really guarantee what's actually in stuff like that. It's better to eat real whole food, like piece of chicken, vegetables, rice, pasta, beans.
with you when you usually go to the gym, do you have like a day that you work on your legs, work your arms?
Hmm.
How you usually do your workouts?
Yeah, I do. It's either legs or it's upper body. If I do upper body, I'll do like my abs also. I usually throw in like a 10 to 15-minute cardio warm up, and then I'll hit upper body. And after upper body, I'll do 100 crunches, hanging leg rises.
You ever hit the heavy bag sometimes? Also, no.
If I went to one gym one time that had a heavy bag, and I did. Apparently, I attracted a lot of attention because I was using the heavy bag without boxing gloves. And some people were surprised that, oh, hey, he's punching a heavy bag with bare knuckles.
I mean, but you're used to that, you know. Your
Yeah, for
body,
me, that was normal.
yeah,
It was not normal for the average person.
average person, yeah. But especially seeing that what you're doing, and you
Especially
probably
it was literally a heavy bag. It was over 100 pounds.
wow, wow. Well, how long you usually do for a jog?
I do
Like
for a job.
jogging.
Basically, I transport explosives for the government.
No, I said jogging. The job thing. Oh yeah, my bad. Sorry.
Jogging. No, I
Yeah,
don't do a whole lot of prolonged cardio. I personally use cardio for warming up,
and then you just mostly just
and then I do
lifting.
weights.
All
So
right.
I try to keep it
Okay, let's talk about
even
this
mix.
explosives with the U.S. government now.
Well, yeah, I do work at a military base.
So you
It,
basically just keep guard, basically of like
no, no.
just
I prepare some explosives to be transported over the road. That's about all I can say on that one.
that's okay. That's okay. That's okay. Also, since you know you practice a lot of these in your martial arts, you practice your skills and stuff like that. Yeah, have you ever bumped into a interesting or somebody who's a sensei or you train with, or
Hmm.
know somebody who you practice martial arts that sticks out of your mind as a one to help, basically a
Mm,
character?
we did when I was studying the taijutsu as a teenager. We did have a couple senseis from other styles come in and give a little instruction on what they taught. And there was one guy he was literally was like the real life version of Chuck Norris. He had the hair, the style of fighting, all that.
He has a ginger hair, claiming he
He
was like,
did,
yeah,
yeah, he really did. I honestly don't remember his name, but yeah, I would just describe him as the real life version of Chuck Norris.
you told me one time you had one sensei that was from Ukraine or Russia one time,
Slovakia.
Slovakia,
That
and you didn't
was
like the guy after a while.
um, that was my instructor with the taijutsu. Um, after all the martial art training, uh, basically he got into some legal problems here in the U.S. and he was deported back
Oh,
to Slovakia.
so I mean, working with him was probably interesting. You know, learn his
Oh yeah,
skill. Who do you think was the most intense trainer that you have dealt with?
him.
Him.
His name was Iggy.
Hmm.
He taught us everything has to be in preparation for a real fight. It was never demonstration. It was never competitions and trophies and belt color. We used the belt color as a ranking system, but it was never glorified like nowadays.
Is there anybody that you would like to step in the octagon with, like current day?
Um,
Maybe like was it Jake Paul or something like that, or what's his name? Or know that, or like Andrew Tate, you probably would like probably bring your head off.
Oh,
There's probably plenty of celebrities you probably think about that.
oh yeah.
What's your favorite hold? Like martial arts hold, like for jiu-jitsu or
Mm, I honestly like joint locks.
Mhm.
Like if a punch comes in at me, block, redirect it. In the short, that's how you would describe taijutsu. It's body arts. It's allowing the attack to come in, but you redirect it and push it away from you. It's also a good effective way to restrain somebody also.
with of all the times that you spar with somebody or fight with somebody, have you ever dealt with somebody who is bigger than you or taller than you in a
Oh
fight?
yeah. I ended up having to take down a guy bigger than me and probably was at least 6'4", 6'5". Probably weighed 275 at least.
You're a pretty big guy.
He actually was causing an issue. The front doorman was talking to him, trying to calm him down. He got up and tried to order some more drinks. The bartender cut him off. He then got mad at the bartender and tried to attack the bartender right in front of me. So I walked up behind him very quickly and choked him out with the rear naked choke, I guess you would call it, and picked him up and drug him outside. Less than 5 minutes later, he's coming in the back door.
And you probably knocked him out again. With
I did basically a Chinese double fist where both hands went out at one time
Mhm.
and dropped him. He actually got up again. But where he was positioned at, the night manager, which he's always been right there at my right side if I ever needed something, but he was able to lock a door before he got back into the bar where we were positioned at. And from that point, the guy just never came back after that. So apparently my double fist taught him a lesson.
Have all the years that you've been fighting, have you ever experienced somebody who not only was irritating but hard to work with?
Oh yeah. And there's always going to be that type of customer that just doesn't want to listen.
Mhm.
You know, that random drunk that wants to stay till the next day, and you got to leave. I mean, I would always give them the option to walk out on their own. I told them this is the only chance you're getting. After that, I had to remove them, and that's what a bouncer does.
Also, with your plenty of years of being a bouncer, uh, have you ever dealt with somebody who, with like police, with police departments and stuff like that, that were also being difficult at one point?
Mm, I wouldn't say difficult. I think sometimes they responded to issues a little slow.
Hmm.
And they do that for their own protection. They do that so that they have enough manpower behind it. Because if they lose the fight, then who's going to stop the bad guy, basically?
I agree.
So,
Well, I mean, the reason why I'm asking that because I mean, is there like because I know you know with police, some police departments having complaints of police brutality. Sometimes it's it's warranted, and sometimes it's not warranted,
yeah.
and stuff like that. So, I mean, is there? Do you think we should implicate more martial arts or more skills in police involvement, like with like you talk about the holds and stuff like that,
Mhm.
to calm down those situations? Do you think that'd be more effective for law enforcement or not? And their tool
From
belt.
what I know, all law enforcement agencies here in the U.S. train fairly well with martial arts and hand-to-hand fighting and self-defense. And there's a difference between all of those too. A lot of times it's the police officer is burned out. And I experienced that too with just working as a bouncer. I mean, you deal with the worst of the worst at that level.
Oh yeah, when
And
you it's a
very
tough
easy to
job.
get. Oh, yeah.
I mean, you're dealing with like rapists,
Oh,
pedophiles,
yeah.
and thieves and murderers and people who are
One
sociopaths.
of the first guys I had to remove was literally a pedophile that was so creepy, he was asked to leave from management from the bar that I
Oh,
was at, which had all kinds of, as you know, strippers and performers and
oh yeah, drag queens.
oh
And,
yeah, all kinds of stuff.
oh,
I
you know.
mean, everybody was in there.
Hmm.
That was the one creepy guy that I had to deal with. Which
Hope you didn't see him again, right?
no, he never. I told him I don't ever want to see you again.
He
He
didn't.
understood.
I bet he's like on a wanting a poster right now.
Oh, he probably is.
Right. So, have you all the years that you have done this? Have you caught somebody who might have had a warrant for arrest or
Mm,
who's had some serious charges on them? When you had to like hold them down, the cop showed up, and then you find out later, oh crap, this guy is like really deep in like breaking laws.
we did have one guy. I actually didn't have to do anything. We did have one guy that showed up, causing some issues. Again, he went out to the back parking lot. It was me and my night manager, and it was more of a talking issue between the night manager and the customer. And the night manager went back in, called the police. Police showed up, and the guy tried striking the police officer.
And he got himself.
He 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 did try to swing at the officer. He was already in handcuffs at that point,
Right.
and from that point, he got sent to jail for a while.
Right. Did he like have any major charges from like different states? I guess, or
He was on. He had some issues. I don't recall what issues he had though.
so also I was going to ask you your area you work out. What kind of equipment you have? I mean, I know a lot of people who practice martial arts they have to have some kind of form of zen, or a certain way they have to have their
Oh yeah.
ways of their gym, especially with martial arts.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, can you tell me what do you have in your gym? You have
Well,
you have.
at home, I typically only use that for stretching and meditating. I've got. I recently just added a bonsai tree to a small room, and I'm slowly building up a Japanese traditional dojo. Um,
So have any ideas what you're gonna put in there?
well, like I said, the bonsai tree, and may even take up how they do the, I don't know what you call it, but how they rake the sand
Oh, yeah.
around. I don't know what you call that, but the whole Japanese lifestyle is something I'm slowly learning on my own.
What's the Japanese culture that what do you think fascinates you the most besides the martial arts?
Oh, the food. I like sushi.
I'm
I
a big
like
fan of
food.
sushi. Yep.
Oh yeah.
Especially the yum yum sauce.
Oh
But
yeah.
California rolls are not originally from Japan. They're from I think not even from California, which is odd.
Probably Hawaii.
It's Hawaii, yeah.
Yeah. A lot of Japanese go to Hawaii actually. Actually, what is his name? Kerry, the guy that played Shang Tsung in the first Mortal
Oh
Kombat.
yeah, yeah.
I briefly talked to him online about different martial arts, and it was just interesting. I just told him, I just thought it was a huge honor that I could talk to him, and that he
That's
was one of
nice.
the ones that inspired me as I was going through the martial arts.
Nice. Nice. So I mean, would you ever spar with him or meet up with him, or what do you think would be a perfect day with him?
Uh,
A chance to meet
He
him.
actually lives in Hawaii somewhere. Just to go and just see what he would have to teach.
I also have a question. I mean, you also used to be a bouncer for all these rock bands. Is there anybody who sticks out of your mind that you've met before or talked to before
Mm,
that are into martial arts or that you had a common interest in?
Um, I never met him. I guess I know of Henry Rollins. Is it?
Henry Rollins?
He was in some mixed martial arts or something. I never met him. I never talked to him, but
Be awesome to meet him.
it would.
Also, you told me you met the guy from the lead singer of London After Midnight. Also,
I talked to him some. Um, Back in my early 20s, I had the whole goth appearance.
Mhm.
Very similar to the lead singer from London After Midnight. Actually, I had the long hair, black lipstick, all that,
Mhm.
spikes and leather. Yeah, I did that. He actually said he was actually impressed by how close my appearance was to him.
Nice, nice. I mean, probably back in the day, you probably can kick ass and take names like Brandon Lee at the same time, looking the part. So,
Oh yeah, definitely.
uh, also, not the fact that you're very much in the martial arts, but also you're into gun defense. Also,
Yeah. Let's see. Well, I grew up on a farm. My dad taught me a lot as a kid. I trained with a bodyguard company. They showed me some handgun self defense techniques, like what to do if someone points a gun at you, how to get out of it. And after the not bouncer, the bodyguard company I trained with, I worked some nuclear security, and our firearms qualifications were equal to the state police and the National Guard.
wow.
I actually had to shoot from a tower at 300 yards, which is what the U.S. Army does.
All right. I have done. Of course, some people on this video on this channel will know that me and Joel have been to the gun range several times.
Oh, yeah.
You're a lot more better than aim than I am. You have a lot more better experience. How I would say you even trained me how to even take care of a firearm.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Is there you ever done that for a living, like teaching people how to take care of firearms?
I have not, but it's I guess secondhand nature. I just could if I had to, but
You know, it's a good trait. It's a good, it's a very good skill to learn that, especially when somebody's getting into firearms and learning about the Second Amendment rights. And
it's just good to be able to defend yourself multiple different ways, whether it's hand to hand or it's with firearms.
what's so I have a question for you. If somebody's trying to learn martial arts or any kind of martial arts, regardless if it's weapons or hand to hand, what is the first thing they need to know? What's the best way to start them at?
Mm, I guess good verifiable experience of the instructor.
Like if I came to you and said I want to learn martial arts, what's the first thing you would teach me?
First thing I would teach you would be simple push ups, sit ups, jumping jacks, stretching, and it martial arts in the beginning phase, literally, my teacher would say, would be equal to basic training for martial arts. And it's roughly 2 weeks of the basics.
But of course, they didn't back in ancient Japan. They didn't have McDonald's, of course.
No, they did not. They ate a lot of fermented food because it would last longer.
So, is there any other questions?
No, I can't think of anything.
The T-shirt you have, what was it for a bodyguard group?
No, it's Lexington Lycans. It's a knight armored combat amateur sport team.
That's interesting. How long you been doing that?
A few months now.
That's good.
A full competition would be suit up with armor, full plate armor like a knight would have with real swords. They're just not sharp. And
also, a really good one is what about like dietary when they first start out?
I have researched what traditionally the Japanese feudal military would eat. It was a lot of fermented food, like tofu and uh, fresh fruit and vegetables.
So I mean, this is more recently that you've been getting into this.
Yeah, it's just within the, I think, the past 6 months.
Wow,
I've
that's
started.
nice. That's
Yep.
interesting. I like history and historical
yeah.
things, and something like that sounds cool and stuff like that. How often do you do it?
With my work schedule, only about once to twice a month.
That's cool. Well, I have to. We have to wrap up the podcast here. I really appreciate you, Joel, coming over, and I'm happy to hear from you. We could probably do another podcast again if you want, if you're down for it.
We could, yeah.
Talk about more about your new club with the Knights in Armor thing.
Yeah.
Hey, I enjoy everybody listening. You guys have a good one. We are out.